Welcome back to the Storyrant podcast. I'm your host, Eric Malikyte, your resident cosmic horror, dark fantasy, and cyberpunk weirdo. And today on the Storyrant podcast, we are talking to Reed Reimer, my good friend, who is also a composer. So he and I will be chatting about film scores, our favorite ones, what makes them good, and what makes them not so good as well. So, Reed, oh shit. my chair broke for a second. So,
Wow.
Reed, with all of that said, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our awesome audience?
Awesome. Well, it's nice to talk with you, Eric, and it's super great to meet all of you. So my name is Reed. I am a music composer for many different things, mostly media. Hail from Minnesota, and yeah, I think what would be something interesting. Okay, my main instrument is like that classically trained is voice. Otherwise, it's guitar, orchestra, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. And do you mostly do movie soundtracks? I know that's what you primarily did before, but I know you've got a lot of other side projects that I'm sure we'll end up talking about too.
I mean, film is definitely like one of the components of things that I do. But I'd like to even go broader and make it more general by saying, media as in like short films. Like it's not all feature length stuff. It's like a lot of short film. It's a lot of like trailer video, videos like that, and a lot of like non locked to picture stuff for podcasts or commercials, things like that.
So, deep fucking cut, you guys.
Mm.
Who those of you who came to this channel from Science Get, Reed did all of the music for Science Get.
Woo.
While I was busting my ass putting out 3 videos a week and murdering myself and my sleep schedule.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Like you lived through that.
Yeah, I'm alive. I was burned out for about a year and a half, but I'm alive. I'm back. I'm doing content again. Yay! So, all right.
Awesome.
So, my first question for you, first official question for you is,
Okay.
what is your favorite movie soundtrack of all time?
I don't know why you would ever ask somebody something that's so difficult to answer by paring the world down to one thing.
And you have to take it
like
to a desert island with you too.
uh it's difficult. I will say that like when asked that question, generally the first score that pops into my head is the score by John Powell for the movie The Bourne Supremacy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because it was like it was like Powell, who like came up under Hans Zimmer, I believe, did quite a few different things. He was really kind of electronic and like orchestral mixing type stuff, and Born Supremacy was like the thing that I was listening to most when I consciously made the decision to make music, which was my passion, into like the thing that I was going to do.
That, interesting. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen that movie in a long time. I mean,
yeah.
so the first movie that comes to mind for me right now, it's because I've been working on a hour-long deep dive into what made the Alien sequels after Alien suck. So it's a video essay,
Mm.
and it's entirely too long. Is Alien and Aliens. I mean, mainly Alien though, because like the score just oozes cosmic dread throughout the whole
Hmm.
thing. I mean, it's so good. It's so good. That movie in general is just so good. Gives me fucking goosebumps every time I see it.
Yeah, like I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like the movie and the sequel, like I don't know if there's ever been um a like a release and a sequel of two different genres that have been so well loved and successful as Alien and Aliens, because they are two different genres.
Yeah.
You know,
I
two
mean,
different directors and two different film scores, like completely different, but
right,
so
right.
awesome, both of them.
I mean, you could almost consider Terminator 2 to be a different genre from the first one, because the first one's more of like a slasher film, you know? And the second
Mm,
one is a lot more of a popcorn action flick than the first
yeah.
one, but you know, it's still the same director, so I guess it's out on that. And both of those
Okay.
films have excellent scores as well. Especially
Hmm.
they're just like super synthy. And I guess
Yeah.
the second one has a lot of licensed music too, which is
Hmm.
something that I don't always count. And this is leading to another question for you too. Um,
Mm.
when it comes to scores, I used to be very up my own ass about this. Like, I would think that I always, when I was in my younger days, you know, uh, I used to think that an original score was better because it kept you in the world. It kept you focused on the world, in the world. You know,
Mm.
so uh do you prefer films with a completely original score versus ones that loop in popular songs, popular licensed songs into them?
I like this is the most cop out answer you'll probably get, but I appreciate both, and like for different reasons. I mean, um I think the scores that I like to go back and just listen to more often are the ones where the entire film is with that score, and they don't have like needle drop soundtrack type stuff. Like John Williams is probably one of the main uh, composers that I will like
Yeah.
go back and just listen to the score without the movie or anything like that. And like Hans Zimmer's another one. But like there's absolutely movies that have both, and I still like really love both aspects of it.
Mhm.
The score too, and uh, not to like toot Marvel's horn, but Guardians of the Galaxy probably is the
Yeah.
best example of that.
Right there. Right there with you. Guardians of the Galaxy is fantastic. Like the my wife still tears up every time either one of the soundtracks to the first two movies comes on. We haven't seen the third
Yeah.
film
Okay. No
for
spoilers.
reasons. So no spoilers, please. And honestly, like I'm not really excited about seeing Marvel films lately.
Yeah.
I've on the channel I've gone into that uh, in depth a lot.
Sure.
But I'm still excited to see Guardians 3. I just haven't found the fucking time.
Sure. I get that. Time is precious.
Right? It is. It is. There's so much to do, you know. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm just going to throw this out there for all you budding creatives in the audience. Don't be a writer, a video editor, and anything else, because you won't have time to do anything.
Maybe don't be a creator. It's tough.
It is tough.
Especially as an indie, because you have to wear all the hats. You
All
have
the
to be your
hats.
own marketer, you have to be your own like social media expert, you have to
Hmm.
like yeah,
It's
it's not
tough. It's tough, and especially dealing with the algorithm. The algorithm is a fickle bitch.
yeah, I
She
agree.
is.
I agree. But
Uh,
going back to the needle drop, like the soundtrack versus score type of thing, and like Terminator 2, like one anecdote that I read not too long ago was that Robert, or not, I was going to say Robert Pattinson, but that's not it. The dude
Robert
who played
Pattinson was
the
in Terminator.
T-1000. No.
Robert Patrick, right?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
His brother is the dude who founded Filter, and like he was angling for Filter to get a track into the soundtrack, and Arnold was just he was dead set on using Guns N' Roses, so Filter never got their shot on that one. But I thought that was a pretty cool thing, because I had never made the connection that they were brothers until
Huh.
I read that article.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you've mentioned the film that the soundtrack, the score that made you want to be a composer for film or just a musician in general. Uh,
Mm.
But what was it about it specifically that made you want to go down that path?
About the score or
Yeah,
about music in general?
about the score itself. Like
Oh,
what did it awaken inside of you?
I- so John Powell's work on the Bourne series, he did the first three films, and the like supremacy for whatever reason, it was like the marriage of like the chamber orchestra that he had with electronic music is really what captured me because the strings are so intimate at times, and it's like just like the character Jason Bourne, it was really finding its voice in that film, I thought. And like I'm a lover of all genres of music, and so like listening to that score and hearing those two things really kind of go together like peanut butter and chocolate, um, like fascinated me. And it was like, oh, so I can do both. Like I don't have to write like John Williams in order to have something that sounds really freaking awesome. So like that's like that, and probably like the fact that it was the thing that was in my ear when I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, really kind of nailed it there as something that I don't know. Well, probably I'll just take to my grave. So,
Nice. All right. So, what are the most important elements of creating an effective score for a film, in your opinion?
I mean, the mood that you can get people to feel uh, with the music. I've read so many articles and interviews, and even talking with friends of mine who are directors and who I've worked with and just worked alongside. Um, music is like it feels like the common denominator for what makes something kind of go over the top, or vice versa. It can, if it's not there to support it, it can make it go the other way too. But
Right.
you look at things where the soundtrack is as memorable, if not more so, than like the film it's
Right.
paired with. But it's like it's what it makes you feel. I don't know. Yeah, to go back to John Williams, and like this is kind of older, but like E.T. When Williams scored that scene where Elliot and ET like go and fly in front of the moon on the bicycle, when he scored that, it moved Spielberg so much that he re-edited the film to go with the music because
Huh.
it like had that much of an effect. And so it's like, uh, you know whether or not it's John Williams or something else, if you can get the vibe that the director wants somebody to feel while watching, like, I mean, it's manipulative, but that's the whole point, is
Right.
like, you want somebody to feel uneasy, well then score it this way no matter what is visually like happening. um and like that's gonna really push it over the edge.
So a point I want to bring up too for this question, and obviously I'm not a fucking musician or anything like that, but I've watched a lot of media, let me tell you. And
Yeah.
I want to bring up two examples. One is the 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series, and I want to bring up the film, the
Okay.
contrast between the two styles, and then I want to bring up Dragon Ball Z and
Okay.
the US localization with the Bruce Faulkner music. Like, these are two very good examples for this problem that is um mostly, like, it's mostly in localizations. It's not necessarily a problem when it comes to film. I'm sure there are, though, those films that just don't know when to let the soundtrack be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Jump scares are a good example of this, where the soundtrack is working against the movie or something. They get that
Yeah.
musical cue in there when a jump scare is about to happen, and it totally ruins it, right?
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
so in the 2003 TMNT animated series, the soundtrack is kind of iffy, as far as
Okay.
there's some good stuff that seems to be more inspired by the original film, And then there's moments that, like, there is not a quiet moment in pretty much any episode of the series, because for kids, the producers that worked with Mirage Studios to bring the series to life, that was just their MO. That was just their MO. They did their best to make sure that there was not a single quiet moment in anything. And, like, kids are not stupid, right? We've had complex shit like Batman the Animated Series as kids to grow up on, and you had excellent scores to that stuff that knew when to be quiet and when to let the music come in and assist with the tone and mood and what have you. I would say that the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film from 1990 is up there as far as soundtracks go. And it knows when to be quiet, when to let things, simmer or what have you. The same is true for the score for Dragon Ball Z. Kikuchi, legendary Japanese composer. When they localized it, all of the quiet moments in Dragon Ball Z where you're supposed to feel like the quiet is there for a reason, it enhances the scene. They just put silly ass fucking goofy circus music in every single one of those those moments. Like, that's why anytime someone's like, yeah, I just prefer the Bruce Faulkner music for Dragon Ball Z, I just instantly know not to take this person seriously. Do you know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah. And the that's kind of like one of the main things that you try to think about as a film scorer and a musician. Like, film score, it's definitely changed over the years as far as like how it functions. And we can talk about that a bit more later, but like I think some of the stronger film scorers, composers, know when to shut up or know when to get out of the way. And silence is just, or can be just as effective, if not more so, than having music in a place.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to a film, it's not just the composer's decision, it's like the director's decision or the producer's decision. It's almost like a committee. And I think unless you can get a couple personalities in there where there's mutual respect, it might be hard to get that point across, where it's like, do we really want to spot music in this place? And you talked about jump scares, and it's like, you think of the classic Jaws, where it was scarier not to see this shark, right? So in jump scares, it, like, obviously they're just trying to get a big thing by having something flash and a big loud sound, and it's like, how do you get that person to jump, like, from this scare, where it's like, are you going for that, or are you going for, let's just keep the whole thing quiet and freak people the fuck out,
Right.
And it's like a super great example that I just watched was the HBO series True Detective. My wife and I just finished watching Night Country, and there's a scene where they're in a place and something's happening that you cannot see, and it's like all you see is like the flashlight flashing through the door and it's shadows, and you just see this like thing go across the space of this open doorway, and you're like, nope.
Right.
It's, that kind of thing. So it's really about the vibe. Like, there are places for jump scares, sure, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a choice, and sometimes it's not always yours.
Right. So earlier I mentioned Alien. And since I've had to rewatch the film multiple times during the creation of this video essay that will come out at some point, I don't know when. It's done with it's done. When it's done. There are several jump scares in it that are not, like, they don't have musical cues. So there is the section after Kane, the facehugger, leaves Kane's mouth face area, and
Mm.
the dead face hugger falls limp onto Ripley on her shoulder. That's pretty freaky. That
Yeah.
is a would be a jump scare today. In the search for the chest burster after it ran away, you know,
Mm.
they're using this device to sense micro changes in air density or some bullshit that Asher came up with on the spot. Um, and Jones is the thing they're detecting. He hisses, meows really loud, and runs off. Right.
Yeah.
So that would have been accompanied with a sharp musical cue,
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Um, there are several in Alien Covenant that are actual, like, they're bad jump scares.
Yes.
Because that was the last film we had to watch for the video essay, and my notes just kept getting shorter and shorter. Like Alien, I had the most notes. Aliens was like a few notes here and there, and then Alien 3, Resurrection, and Prometheus, and Covenant, I was just like, I fucking hate this. Please make it stop.
uh I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, and like the scores notwithstanding, I was really excited when Prometheus came out.
Yeah.
And you know and like um I do my best to like suspend my disbelief, but it's really hard when you have people who are supposed to be scientists on this planet that they haven't studied, and it's like, oh, the air is fine, helmet
Right.
off. And same with Covenant. It's like, oh, here's this planet that's, we can get to it, and we will live, and we're just gonna like land and get off the craft without any protective gear. And it's like, those things for me are like I can buy the science fiction stuff and like, the horror elements and like stuff like that, but like, can we just have like some baseline legitimacy?
Like, dude, it gets even worse with Prometheus because, like, um Charlize Theron, I believe, is in Prometheus, right? And she
Hmm.
says something to the effect of, "We flew 500 million miles or kilometers, whichever she said. It's just as stupid either way.
Yeah.
It's stupid in two different systems of measurement."
And not even the right
Because
one.
500 million miles is like Jupiter. Like,
Yeah.
nobody did any kind of research when they went to write Prometheus and Covenant. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can say that, well, based off of our biome here on Earth, if we went to an alien world with a breathable atmosphere, nothing would be able to infect us because we're from different ecosystems. There is a theory that suggests that it's real. But yeah, the moment that they saw like wheat from Earth growing, they should have
Yeah.
been like, well, we should really get our spacesuits on because this is weird and
Yeah.
we don't know what we're going to encounter here. Uh,
Right.
this shouldn't be possible. Therefore, there might be things here that could kill us. And I just
Yeah.
bumped my microphone. Whatever.
Dude, yeah. And for as much as those things take me out of it, there's still like a place in my heart for Prometheus and Covenant, and I'm very excited for Romulus. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm I wouldn't consider myself a fanboy, but like I'm such a lover of sci-fi that despite, some not great writing and some other things, like I'll go for the ride. Like, I'm there.
I'll watch it. I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Romulus isn't counting Prometheus or Covenant, which is either a good sign or a bad sign. Doesn't I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah.
take that. I don't. I'm really disappointed in Ridley Scott though. In
Mm.
like the hubris of the man with Prometheus and Covenant is like, I don't understand how that man could go from directing The Martian to that. I don't get it. I don't get it, because The Martian is a fucking masterpiece and it's so scientifically accurate. Like, the
Yeah.
fuck were you on about? Because, like, Alien and Aliens, they were not, and I make this point in the video essay, they were not by any stretch of the imagination trying to be realistic, but they ended up stumbling into that because of the way that films were made back then. Because filmmakers, back then at least, wanted
Yeah.
to make things look convincing on film. That
Yeah.
and in the script. Like,
So there's a lot of practical effects and
right.
yeah.
But even it goes beyond that too, because they wanted it to fool the eye and to be believable to a certain extent, you know. And I don't feel like the same consideration is really being taken, and maybe Ridley Scott is just too old. I mean, visually he's making, like, they still look like good films, even though, like, Prometheus was trying to be a cosmic horror film and it just failed in every fucking imaginable way you could think of. It's bad as a cosmic horror film. As a fan of cosmic horror, it's just bad. And largely it's because they got the guy who wrote Lost, one of the main script writers, to write Prometheus. So there you go. That's why.
Yeah.
Mystery boxes all over the fucking place. Like, fucking
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens Anunnaki replaces the weird, haunting, beautiful artwork that led to the space jockey scene in the original Alien. Like, why would you look at the way the space jockey looks in the first Alien film and then look at the way that quote unquote engineers look in Prometheus and say, yeah, that's just as good? No, it's not. One is haunting and beautiful. The other is just generic fucking sci-fi schlock.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop ranting about Alien. I promise.
Yeah, listeners, can you tell that Eric just finished up his video essay for Aliens?
You got me on it. You got me on it.
Sorry.
Oh.
Let's move on. No. But the scores, yeah, like the scores, I mean, I love the scores for the first two, absolutely. And the third one, like the score is actually really awesome for the third.
Yeah,
Alien.
I will say that. While the script is, like, not great because there wasn't one while they were shooting most of it, and it's full of, like, 90s bullshit and, like, bad dialogue. Like,
yeah.
There's one moment that I didn't really call out in the video essay, but when Ripley comes back down the ladder, and you can tell that the writers thought this was going to be a badass moment for her. She gets down, she looks very dramatically at one of the guys, one of the monks, and says, "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" And it's just it even though Sigourney Weaver is giving it her all, even though she's doing her best and she is Sigourney Weaver, it still makes you cringe. It's just like some guy in the 90s thought that line was badass.
Yeah.
Oof. It's bad.
Yeah.
Not as bad as half the shit in Resurrection, though. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, it kind of makes you wonder when they're writing, you know, how often do the things that end up being one-liners and like the memorable things, like, were they written that way, or is it just like that is what has become, like, because you think of Bill Paxton's "Game over, man, game over," and it's like, did they write that with the thought that that was going to be one of the most memorable lines from that film?
Right,
you know?
right. And it's just juxtaposed against, nucleus sight from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. That's way more badass and, like, effortless, basically.
Yeah.
Like, the most badass lines are always going to be effortless,
Yeah.
They're not going to be these forced, well, what are you going to do about it? Destiny's calling. The only question is, what now?
Yeah, and it feels like it's kind of the way a lot of things have gone, where it's instead of, you instead of these creative things, you almost get things that are made to be trailer, like sound bites, and it's like, do we really, like, is that necessary? Can't we just have a good film and good writing? And it's like, because even like, even in the past few years, there's been a lot of stuff in trailers and teasers that doesn't even make it into the final film. And it's
Yeah.
like, if that's the case anyway, stop writing a film as if it's going to be, like to get bits for trailers. Like, make a trailer that, is tangential to the film and leave the film alone. Like, don't, I don't know. Like, I don't mean to rant, but,
No, no, it seems like you have a little you have thoughts.
yeah, well, I mean, it's basically just that. It's like, let's I it would be nice to get away from some of the creating everything just to be a temple,
Right.
and getting back to, let's get some depth in here, and let's get some more thinkery stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to go back to Alien Resurrection, I think a good point too is like this: the score is a lot of what it's a lot of stuff from or reimagining of pieces from the original Alien. And
Mm,
while Aliens had a lot of that, had a lot of other percussive stuff, that is like seems to be James Cameron's bread and butter, like what he likes in a soundtrack.
mm,
Um, but with Alien Resurrection, that the tone of the film, because everything like the script was silly and the director was trying to get a more serious tone out of the actors and it just wasn't working. The
yeah,
score, being as iconic as it is from Alien, just doesn't work. you know
yeah, yeah.
there are those instances where a good score can't save the film.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, that's true.
so
That's
I
true.
guess an ad lib question for you would be like, what is the worst score you can think of right now? Or and you can decline to say just in case you're like Chris Stuckman and can't like say anything bad about a movie right now because you're afraid of what might happen with future gigs.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess I never think of. I never think of them in that regard. Like, that was a tremendously horrible score or anything like that. Like, I, if possible, I try to like find the good in things.
hmm
And it, I, yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say, and it probably is because like my intake of content is very low. Like, I spend so
Right.
much time producing stuff that I have very little time to like ingest and consume,
hmm
which, you know is a double-sided sword to mix metaphors. But
A double-sided
um
sword. Hey,
yeah, you
Reed,
just hold blades
there's more than one way to kill a stone.
yes, thank you. um one interesting kind of like, to kind of redirect, but on like have it be of the same, what you're getting after is, uh one of my friends, the film scorer, who does podcasts like with composers, film composers and stuff, put a question up the other day on Twitter, and asked, is writing music and letting the director assemble that music into the score, is that still film scoring? And like, that might be like maybe a more apropos kind of question, um,
Hmm.
about the current state of things, because you get into things like some of the popular franchises in the last few years, Stranger Things, and like a lot of the stuff, that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do. What And there are many other examples of this too, but those are the first two that come to mind. Like, the dudes who did the music for Stranger Things, like their MO is to write a ton of music, and then the director goes in and is like, I like this for this and like this for this, and like, they're not scoring the picture anymore, they're making music, and it just gets put into, you know
That's
the
weird.
it's different. Like, it's a different way to think about it, and it's like, the question is that still scoring? Like, I can see how it could be, because, they, in their minds, I guess I don't know what's in their minds, but I'm assuming they're allowed to read what they're writing music for, and so
Right.
like they're writing music to fit that vibe, and then and then it like it might get mangled, but
You probably see the question brewing on my face right now. So like my understanding, and maybe this is totally
yeah.
fucking wrong, was that composers and like they would watch the film first to get an idea, like watch the dailies or whatever, the scenes as they're constructed, to get an idea of what would complement those scenes. But is
Mhm.
that not how it works?
That's traditionally how it works. That isn't necessarily the case anymore. And I mean, I think the biggest example, or at least the most popular example, might be Hans Zimmer, who is like,
Mm.
your A-list of A-list music composers that are working today. Um, the For a lot of the films that he's done over the last, I don't know how many years, he'll go into it writing a sketchbook. And I know for Man of Steel that was the case. I know for Dune that was the case. I mean, the dude loves Dune, which how can you fault that? I mean, I love Dune also, and I love his work on it, and I love Denis Villeneuve, his vision of that. But like,
And like uh Blade Runner 2049.
yeah, I mean,
Like it
dude,
is a
like,
feast
so
for
good.
the eyes.
Absolutely. And like the music is superb, and
Hmm.
for all of those examples. But like, Hans Zimmer starts by writing sketches of music like that he gets from being inspired by the property.
Huh.
And like, I know Dune, for example, you can actually get or stream whatever, however you consume that kind of stuff, but you can get the sketchbook, and you can listen to the music that just he wrote without ever seeing the film. And before the film was even being made, like, I've heard cases where they like play the music that has been written to inspire the actors as they're about to act the scene and stuff like that,
I mean,
which is
I
kind
think
of
that's still fair. Like that's an interesting way to do it. I think it's
yeah.
weirder when the director is selecting in the editing bay, like what songs go where, what have you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the director technically would have the say for that, I
Hmm.
guess.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, at the
Well,
end of the
or the
day, it
director
is their
might,
call.
yeah, or in a more traditional sense, thinking of Howard Shore and like the Lord of the Rings, the
Hmm.
director Peter Jackson directed him to change up how he wrote the music. So he'd go back then and like rewrite sections versus Peter Jackson taking the music that had been
Yeah,
written
and
and like slicing and dicing it.
that trilogy is an iconic score too. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't say
Yeah.
the same for The Hobbit, but
I mean,
that's another thing.
it's still Howard Shore, and it's like, yeah, should they have made three films? Probably
No.
not. Would it have been fun to see how Guillermo del Toro would have done it? Yeah, absolutely. Especially when that Peter Jackson himself said he was too tired to do it, but he did it.
Right.
It's like, um, yeah, but like the music is still pretty great, and is it Lord of the Rings? No, but it's still like, holy crap, we get three more huge like albums of music made by this person who gets to play in this world that he created, the soundscape for. And yeah,
So
I'm okay with that.
so I think I have to bring up one of my favorite animated series, Avatar the Last Airbender. I can't talk today,
Okay.
Reed.
Yeah. I
uh
also love that series.
Mako's I don't know if he wrote this for the series, but Little Soldier Boy still makes me tear up to this day, and my wife just
Mm.
straight up fucking balls every time she hears it.
So it's an effective piece of music then.
It is like, and just the score for the entire series is just on point.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like
Yeah.
we finished watching the Netflix Avatar series, which is bad. But the score is still good because they're basically just taking pieces from the original
Yeah.
and remixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we my family, I have two 8-year-old kids, who by the time this airs, are probably going to be 9. Their birthdays this month, but they have watched and rewatched the animated Avatar series probably like 6 or 7 times.
All right, all right.
And
Raising them right.
I mean, it's so good. But
It is.
we watched the first episode of Netflix's Avatar, and they weren't into it, and that's fine. Like, there's something to be said for kids, animation versus live action, and just like they are so used to these certain characters and just how they are that it might be a little more difficult to get into a reimagining. But like, one thing I did notice from the first episode is, and I'm grateful they did that, was to use some of the musical cues
Mm-hmm.
from the series to I guess bridge it, or
Yeah, yeah. There. I think there are some, and other YouTube channels have talked about this at length. So I try on this channel not to cover what other people typically will cover ad
yeah,
nauseum.
yeah,
But, Jesse Gender brought up some really good points about how the genocide of the air nomads really was an unnecessarily shot thing. Like, it didn't need to be shown.
mm-hmm.
And the original was a lot more effective at showing the sadness by showing their absence. Um,
Yeah.
and it seems like the director, the showrunner, really just thought it would be cool to see all that carnage on screen. And I'm like, where are your priorities, sir?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I mean, I get it, like, and in the pantheon of Avatar-y things, M. Night Shyamalan's movie, whether you cared for it or not, like, that was an example to me, another example of a score that was great, regardless of how you felt about the film. Like,
Mm.
Hall of Avatars by James Newton Howard is on like any playlist I make of favorite film score cues, and like, he's one of my favorite composers as well. But like, the music, was the movie worthy of it? I don't know, but you know at least we
Probably
got
not.
the music out of it.
Oh,
But
being way
yeah,
too nice to that movie.
I mean, I'm not here to denigrate or like
Yeah,
piss on somebody's grave.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I agree with trying to find positive things in films and creative things. It's very hard to make films. I agree with that to a point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
But there are times, especially with Hollywood, the way the Hollywood machine works, where you just can't help but scratch your fucking head and wonder, what the hell were you guys thinking? Like,
Yeah.
especially because sometimes, especially when it comes to the Alien franchise, at
Mm.
least from my perspective as a writer of cosmic horror, I think the answers are pretty obvious. What makes things good in this universe
Mm.
is pretty obvious to me, but that's because
Yeah.
I'm me.
Sure.
Um, what's really interesting, I think, though, to get a little more back on topic before we close things out, since we went way off the rails, which is okay.
Yeah.
I expect that. It's also really interesting how a film score, especially with licensed music,
Yeah.
the popularity of that film and its score can affect their longevity and make them last the test of time when otherwise they probably wouldn't without that attention.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, it's all about nostalgia, isn't it? Like,
Right, right.
okay, so this is kind of tangential, but like, my family and I recently went to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Probably first and last trip with the kids of something like this, and the favorite ride of the family, hands down, bar none, was the Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Mm.
And for me personally, um, like, in as a 40-year-old, that's I created a core memory, which is kind of weird to think about, but like, being on this ride with my kids and my wife, like, I don't know how much you know about the ride, but they have 6 tracks, I think, from like a Guardians of the Galaxy type soundtrack
Okay.
that they cycle through. So you could ride it 6 times and have six different experiences because of the different music.
Huh.
Well, like the second time we went on this, they played Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And for whatever reason, because I'm an 80s kid, like that song, like the nostalgia button in my head clicked. And all of a sudden, it was like the greatest experience that I've ever had with my kids doing like something like this. And, um, relating that back to films, if there's something in there that somebody latches onto for whatever reason, like uh they're gonna take that through their whole life with them. And I mean, it's the
Right.
reason why we quote movies, ad nauseum, and like do all these things where we're just like we're they're part of our lives, a huge part for some of us.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and it's like, you know and that's also why you see so many damn remakes, is because like, oh, that's a money thing, because we're going to target these people who have this experience, and try to make money from them because of the nostalgia thing. So like, yeah, if you're going to include music that's popular at the time when they see it, absolutely, that's going to help stand the test of time, especially if the music is good.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause,
That's
you're
the
not going to
key
remember a
right
top
there.
40 thing, yeah, necessarily. Yeah, for sure.
Right, right, right. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes top 40s are good too, but as a metalhead, rarely does the best metal ever end up in the top 40.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I
Fuckers.
mean, well, and like, I think, I guess I've never like looked at it from an analysis point of view, but like, how is the top 40 now compared to top 40 like 40 years ago? Like,
Right.
are those tracks, the amount of noise that exists today is a lot different than it was 40 years ago.
Absolutely. There's like pretty much anyone can put out music, and now you have like people with these AI plagiarism machines, and they can
Yeah.
produce whatever music. I think I haven't kept up with what the music LLMs are even capable of doing, but before it seemed pretty uh trash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a hellscape we're going through in
Right.
some aspects of creation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But hopefully
Yeah.
the good shit will stick out, and your shit, will be the stuff that sticks. And speaking of which, can you
Never
tell
mind.
us about your other projects, Reed?
Oh man. Well, so like, yeah, I can absolutely. The biggest thing that I'm working on today is the soundtrack for a TTRPG, which is based on world building that I did for a metal album.
Nice.
So the project is called Cthulhu Dreamt,
Oh,
and
oh yeah.
whether you use the hard T or not, Cthulhu Dreamt is something that I started with some friends, right as COVID was starting. And so yeah, a COVID project kind of grew beyond the bounds of its uh, time and space, I guess. But
Hmm.
yeah, we made a couple albums of mixed genre metal, and then it became something else. Like, a friend of mine is like, have you ever, like, I know you've kind of, it's based on a backstory, and like, there's some stuff there, like, have you ever thought about making that a game? And I was like, well, now I have. So
Right.
my friend Jaren with Action Fiction, um, we teamed up and threw together like a Kickstarter, which was successful. And so now they're writing a campaign, and I'm writing a soundtrack to accompany that campaign. Very much like the dudes from Stranger Things,
Huh. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
writing a boatload of music, and the facilitator or game master, whatever they want to call themselves, gets to choose, what music goes with what. I mean, we'll definitely have suggestions, but they will get all of this music, and it will, be up to them to create an immersion for their players. And I'm very excited about it, because the project is very meaningful to me, beyond the fact that, yeah, I wrote music and it is a thing, but like, it all began as kind of a way for me to exercise demons, and deal with having lost a daughter in childbirth.
Oh.
And so it's like there are definitely songs in there where it's like when I went to record them and like record the vocals, it was like, okay, I need a few takes here because you can probably hear me crying like on that last take or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, like I mean, cosmic horror is such a good approximation for depression and loss and like grief and these things that we have no handle over and can't control, right? So
Right, right, right.
so it was kind of perfect to have Cthulhu be stand-in for those things and then just like create a world around that. And yeah, it's sci-fi cosmic horror, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, man. So the Kickstarter itself, since I was a part of that, it's over. So there's
Yeah.
after everything comes out, are you guys planning on having the rule book and the soundtrack available in like as a some retail capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. I know like because it's two studios, my studio Fable Factory and Action Fiction, kind
Mm-hmm.
of cooperatively working on this project. Action Fiction will absolutely have the game for sale, and like I will definitely have the soundtrack for sale, and it'll be streaming on streamers if that's your preferred choice for consumption. But you know, there's a life beyond it. The Kickstarter was successful. You know, it's available right now on BackerKit for pre-order, so people can go and like pre-order that
Nice.
there until release, which is going to be either late this year or like really early 25, just because they're busy writing it now, and I guess
Yeah.
I'm still writing music too. But
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely. All
yeah.
right, and the links will be in the description and pinned comment for this episode of the Story Rant podcast. Any other places where our listeners can catch you?
Oh man. Well, like my website is fablefactory.org. Of course, like all the different creators that we release music for on that label are streaming. You know, like I stream soundtrack stuff under my name, Reed Reimer, but Cthulhu Dreamt is streaming. Like Annie Local Punk is streaming. You know, there's a bunch of different stuff. Like Codeburst is a cyberpunk project that is streaming and available for sale because it's a graphic novel type, a graphic novella type thing. And yeah, that so anywhere streamers are streaming music, and fablefactory.org can be like the nexus for getting hooked up with all that.
Nice. All right, sir. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for
Woo.
coming on and being a guest today.
Yeah.
We lasted about an hour. Can you believe it?
Oh, I can. I can.
I can.
I've got good longevity.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you so
having me,
much.
dude.
Yeah, anytime, anytime. I'll
Yeah.
if I come up with any more music themed episode ideas, I'll let you know. I'll toss them your
Hell yeah.
way first and foremost. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go ahead and do the outro. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Story Rant podcast. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Reed Reimer, and follow his stuff. Pre-order Cthulhu Dreamt, and I just screwed up how to say Dreamt for some reason. Look, you know what? Fuck it, it's going in. I'll see you next time, Space Cowboys.